scooch this on back here. Perfect. Better. Nice. Good morning, people. You can kind of see how many people are here. I thought I'd open the class up a touch early so that way people can trickle in a little bit and enter in some questions if need be. So settle down in, get cozy, get comfy, and we're gonna start probably a little bit after noon, just so people can trickle in and all that good stuff. So grab a blankie, grab a coffee, whatever you need, and we'll get started. I'm gonna drink my Diet Coke in peace. I'm also so sorry if you guys can hear all the construction noise in the background. Turns out construction workers still work in quarantine. So my apartment is under a little bit of construction, so sorry if you hear the beeps and the trembles and all that good stuff. So it can be a little pain sometimes. I'm excited though. This is super fun. I've never done a YouTube live for Salon Republic before, so I've taught in location a couple times, but this is my first time on YouTube live for Salon Republic, so it's super fun, super exciting. And that dreaded construction machine just has to be beeping away all day. Let's see who's all here. Gosh. Also, there is a little bit of a lag between this and I have a second screen up, so it's kind of interesting to watch myself like half a second later. Good deal. All right, we're right at 12, so I'm gonna let it go for just a couple more minutes. I want people to straggle on in if they feel they need to. I don't want to start too preemptively early, but thank you guys for being early birds that were here super early, or even a handful of minutes early. So I will wait a second, but thought you might have some good ideas for me too. Yes, oh, I'm so excited. I'm glad, I'm really glad. So I am Thousand Oaks. Do you go through Amanda for Salon Centric as your rep? Do you use your rep? If you do, Amanda's amazing. I love her to death. She's one of my favorite people. Yeah, so even if you are in nail tech, we will be focusing a lot of today on hair. Obviously, being a Redken girl, I will have no illusion that I know anything about nails whatsoever. But I also, today is gonna be about going back to business post-quarantine, you know, what that looks like. And I really wanna spark some creative ideas, whether you're a nail tech, hairstylist or not, that how to create and make some money in these restricted timelines that will be post-coronavirus, whenever that happens in California for you, for sure. But I'm excited. It's gonna linger on for a few minutes. Oh my goodness. So everybody in here so far, I'm like, sorry I'm squinting so much. I'm trying to see how many people are in here. So is everybody in here so far? If you guys want to look to that chat on the other side, Kimber found it. So if you want to go in there, just tell me who you are and where you're from, which location you're at. send those on in. Just mostly because I'm curious more than anything else. Let me see here. Gosh, it's so weird, this leg. It's crazy. Alrighty, so I'll probably just get started here. It's 2 minutes after. People can trickle on in if they feel the need to. So to get started here, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I know that the internet is flooded with education right now, and it was so wonderful that Salon Republic reached out to me to get some more education to you guys. That's absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful that I'm the one to do it. That's awesome. As I said before, for those of you that just joined, if you guys can hear construction noise, I'm really, really sorry. My apartment is under some construction, so you might hear some beeping and maybe some thudding noises. Oh, so just keep that in mind. I'm sorry if it gets too loud, let me know. Maybe I'll yell at them or something, we'll see. So I am Caitie Kennedy. I am the Redken Regional Educator in the San Fernando Valley area. So I'm in, Pasadena, Burbank, I go Northridge, I go all the way up to Ventura, I have Bakersfield, Thousand Oaks, I'm your girl. I also tackle some of LA as well, and I'm also a national educator, so I travel all over the place normally. Normally I'm on a plane quite often for Redken, so that is awesome. I love my job very much, regardless of quarantine or not. I just want to check the chat here. Embrace Hair Studio at Salon Republic, Burbank. I wonder if Ani is your rep then, if you go through Ani. She's also an angel of my life. I love her to death. So today we are talking all about back to business post-quarantine and what that means. So it's going to be a little different for all of us. So far, those of you that entered into the chat, oh, that's right, the governor is making announcements at 12 today. You're right. We're having another class on Thursday anyway. But today is going to be all about what it's going to look like when we go back to business. Coronavirus, when that's going to happen. I know here in California, because it looks like almost all of you are Californians, it looks like that's not going to be for a while because we're stage 3. As last I heard. Who knows? Maybe he's making announcements right now to tell us that we can be open sooner. Who knows? But it's going to be all about how we're going to have to get creative and how we're going to have to adjust in this new normal setting to accommodate our guests in a new way, right? Or a more creative way. So that's what today is all about. I really, 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 really love business classes, and I love doing this kind of whole new take on it. I'm super excited. So sorry, I saw something else come in. Also Burbank, awesome. So if you guys want to, where that little chat bar is, please tell me in there what you want to get out of today. Like when you're talking about going back to business in coronavirus, what are some of the things and tools that would be really helpful to you? Or what are some things you're really afraid of? Maybe we can kind of break through that a little bit. That would be really awesome. So if you have anything in particular, please type it in there so that way I can make sure to tackle it, or tackle it to the best of my ability, or find someone that knows the answer, right? So that's going to be where it all starts. But for reference, for those of you, I probably have taught to some of you maybe, I am a color correction and blonding specialist first and foremost. I was a GM of a hybrid salon back in Minnesota, a very popular hybrid salon. And I also work as a suite representative for Redken as well. So I'm super excited to be here. It's gonna be awesome. Super excited. So it's really important today that you kind of keep your mind open with me. We're gonna talk about a lot of ways that we're gonna get creative moving into this post-coronavirus, and how we're gonna have to adjust our business as usual, and how we're gonna have to adjust our mindsets and really make sure that we are servicing our guests in the best way we can, but also in a very safe way. A very safe way for all of us. So that would be fabulous. All right, I haven't had anybody enter anything into the chat, so I'm gonna just kind of launch in, if y'all are okay with that. Sound good? I normally do my classes on Zoom, so this is like a whole new experience. Okay. Set this over here. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that are likely scenarios post-COVID quarantine. All right, so we've heard a couple of states and cities that have opened, right? They have opened post-quarantine. So Atlanta and other places, there's a lot of places that opened this week. There are a few places that are opening next week. And we have done our best here at Redken to make sure that we are getting the most information that we possibly can from each state to kind of give you a more realistic picture of what that's going to look like. I'm sorry, I see chats coming in and all that good stuff. But what I'm going to share with you guys is some of the things that we have heard and some of the things that we have seen. And some of the things that we might want to prepare ourselves for so we can actually make a better back to business plan. How do we prioritize? Kimber asked, how do we prioritize clients? Do we charge more to allow time and special equipment like PPE? And we will talk about that today as well. And how we're going to adjust for those offsetting costs, because you do have to. It's part of, being a service provider. And I really don't want you guys to feel guilty about charging a little bit extra for PPE. How much you charge for that depends on you. It depends on how much you spent on it, right? So I know that for L'Oreal specifically, we found a stockpile of masks and gloves, and we will be selling them for cost. We are not making any money on any of the PPE that we are, selling to you guys. We just want to make sure we don't lose any more money, right? So that is an option. Definitely talk to your sales reps, your salon-centric sales reps about that. They will have way more information about that than I will. Concerns about increasing pricing to cover extra supplies, extra time between clients for extra sanitizing deeper than past requirements. Exactly. We're gonna have to talk about a lot of that. So I'm glad. Both of those are very similar things. So this little chart that I have here, I hope you guys can read that okay. I'll just bring my flip here a little closer. So these are some of the things that we've seen in other places. So no double booking, right? No double booking. And for some of you, you might be double bookers, right? So only one person in a space at a time, all right? A lot of other states and cities are saying you have to leave with wet hair because they don't want a blow dryer blowing around virus if it exists, okay? Disinfection time, both of you have mentioned that. And what I really want to cover with that is, it's hard to nail down a specific chunk of time, right, that we have to block out for sanitation because we don't know those sanitation guidelines yet for California. If you are in a state that has those guidelines out and you're ready to go back to work, please let me know what they are, because the more information I have, the better, okay? So the disinfection time, a lot of people are saying you want to have at least 5 to 10 minutes between each client, and solid, you can't be running back to back, right? So that 5 to 10 minutes, granted that you guys are in suites, right? Y'all are in suites, so you have a smaller space. It's not like a giant salon that you have to make sure it's being constantly cleaned and monitored, right? So having a small space, you guys do have a little bit more control, which is a really, really, really nice thing, all right? So that disinfection time, what I'm hearing is about 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes after every client leaves and before the next one comes in. So you might want to plan for that in your booking times, all right? Masks. Masks on at all times. And that's a big ask. Not only is it an ask for PPE purposes and financial purposes, you have to ask the question, do you want to provide masks for your client? Do you want your client to have the mask before they come in? Those are questions that you have to decide for yourself, right? So during the entire service, that mask has to be on. A lot of service providers have to wear face shields as well to protect ourselves even more. That can pose quite a bit of challenge, right? Think about the mask behind the ear. How are we gonna manage that? How's all that gonna work? What about shampooing? What's the comfort there? What about communication? How hard is it gonna be to read your client's expressions when half their face is covered, right? Let's see this client. What if a client refuses to wear a mask? For Kimber, you have to refuse service. If, again, maybe by the time phase 3 rolls around, our governor will say they cannot have masks on. I highly doubt that's the case, but it is required, at least in California, that all public places, you must be wearing a mask. So if your client refuses to wear one, you have to refuse service. You can, and that could be the option for you. If you really want to make sure that you can service as many clients as possible, you might invest in some extra PPE for your clients to use. That's your decision alone. But yes, according to all of the other city, state, county laws that I've come in contact with, every service provider and every single client has to wear a mask. Has to. So that's really, really, really important. And if they refuse to comply with these, that would put you at jeopardy and you at legal risk. So it's really important that you do refuse that service if that does happen. Okay? Those touchable surfaces that we all, we have to disinfect and clean. So one thing you might look at is removing all magazines. Anything that they would normally look through, touch, remove those from your suite. Self-serve coffee, tea, beverages, remove those from your suite. I know in some counties they're not even allowing beverages being served at all. So keep that in mind. Again, in California, we don't know what those rules are yet. So we will update you as soon as we know when we get that clearance date and that green light. But those touchable surfaces, they have to be disinfected before each client and after each client, right? And they have to be able to sit a good amount of time, a certain window of time, to make sure that virus is decontaminated. So that's why a lot of people are saying 10 minutes is usually what they are doing for having that gap in time, okay? One person in space at a time, especially for salon suites, has been the #1 guidance we've gotten. One person at a time for salon suites is probably gonna be the most popular thing. So that includes, a mother and her child, right? If you have a kid's cut, or, to Kimber's point, who's a nail tech, who might wanna bring a friend, that's not allowed. One person at a time, one person per service provider. That's a really, really, really important distinction. That could also get you in trouble if someone wants to bring their mom, their sister, their friend, one person at a time to keep yourself safe as well. Okay? And the other thing I want to talk about is the client in general. Well, I'm going to check this little comment that came here. Barber work shaving, hold on a second. Barber work, shaving facial hair. Remove this service from being offered. So that is a really, really great question. It will depend on the state's judgment at that time. Some counties and some cities that have reopened have said absolutely not. No face shaves, anything close contact like eyebrow waxing, face shaves are not allowed. There are some states that will allow eyebrow waxing and other facial services, but anything around the mouth so far has not been allowed to keep their mask on at all times. So that's something I would definitely prepare for. I would definitely, until those guidelines come out, I would prepare it to be on the easiest side to not offer those services. And then in the off chance that we do, good news for everybody, right? Okay. But the other thing I do want to talk about here is just the client awareness that we have to have. That has to be a lot more elevated than it has in the past, right? So for those clients, we've all been quarantined for however many months. I mean, California was one of the first places to quarantine themselves. So it's really, 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 really important that we take that into account for our clients. This is probably one of the first times they've gone out in public outside of a grocery store in however many months, if they're not essential workers, right? So really, really, really cater to them and their safety. Make sure that they feel comfortable and safe. Equally for yourself. If you don't feel like a client is able to be healthy and safe in your space, whether they have someone in their family that's contaminated or they're showing symptoms, you have to protect yourself as well, okay? That's what all of these are for. Make sure all of those. And again, as we update you, we'll know more. But right now, this is all we know because we're going off of the other states, counties, and cities that have reopened. Okay. Do you have any questions on that? You can enter that on into the chat. I'm trying to monitor at the same time. Okay, so I want to talk about our clients. Our clients, our lovely, beautiful, amazing clients. We haven't seen them in a long time, right? We've been in quarantine for a very long time, and there were some of them that were just due for the appointment that week we shut down. So they've been without us for a long time. So again, to Kimber's point, I'm gonna go mostly hair focused, but she can translate into her own nail tech language as well. So one of the first things that we're gonna see is long regrowth, right? We're gonna see a lot of it. Whether it's gray, maybe someone's gray regrowth is down to here. Same with blonde retouches, bleach and tone retouches, foil retouches. It's gonna be much longer than what we're used to for those typical clients we see often. What about our at-home colorists? What about them, right? Our box dyers that have been at home and decided, wow, it's just a really great idea to do some box dye because whether they had a couple glasses of wine or maybe they just wanted some semblance of self-care, right? Those box dyers are gonna give us a lot of trouble in terms of color correction and those things. What about our over purple shampoo users? Our over purple shampoo users are going to be using a ton of purple shampoo and their ends are going to be really, really, really porous and very violet, right? So that's another huge thing to take into account. That purple shampoo deposit, that's going to give us a hurdle. If anybody else has suggestions of what they're nervous of seeing, someone had mentioned barbering. What happens when the guy you've been seeing every 3 to 4 weeks for the past however many years comes in with long hair? That's going to take you a lot longer to get through than his normal, 4 to 6 week maintenance trim, right? These are all huge things that are important, and we're running into a ton more. Maybe your client has been using a ton of drugstore hair care, right? All of a sudden, these clients that were able to have professional product all the time, they've been using the drugstore brands. Their hair's a lot more drier. Maybe they've got a ton of buildup on there, waxy buildup from less than quality product. And the other really, really, really big thing here your client's financial budget. Your client's financial budget has most likely changed quite a bit. They estimate over 50% of people have been financially impacted by the coronavirus. So your client that comes in and gets the works, right? Maybe they get a retouch balayage haircut, or for your barbers, they get, facial shave, haircut, a wax, whatever that looks like for you. They might not be able to afford the whole gambit of services anymore, right? So we have to get creative in how we power book and stack these appointments to maximize our time. Would you guys agree with me? This little chat over here. It's gonna be a whole different ballgame, and we have to develop our skill set to be able to talk to our clients about their beauty budget in a different way than we maybe did before, because it's gonna make them feel much more confident and comfortable, and we are gonna be able to stack our days appropriately, book enough time for every service, and leave enough time to disinfect in between. And also in this financial bucket, we've talked about PPE and how we have to use PPE for every single client every single time. And we have to change our PPE often. So it would really be in your best interest to reach out to your salon-centric sales consultant and say, hey, I know that you guys have PPE available, or wherever you go for PPE, and really see how much that PPE is going to cost you per use, right? So you can create a very accurate extra cost for PPE. And I really think a lot of our clients are going to understand the need for that extra charge, because those little things, as we know as hairstylists and nail techs and barbers, whatever you are, they add up over time, especially in the hair world. Maybe you don't consistently charge clients for an extra bowl of color, or maybe you forget to charge them for bond rebuilders, or you feel too bad to charge them for a toner. Those things add up to thousands and thousands of dollars a year. So I really think that it is more than justified and completely acceptable to charge extra for PPE and the time needed for disinfection. It's part of the reality that we live in right now. So I highly encourage it. I don't have the exact figures of how much you should charge. That also depends on you personally and how much PPE you have to use and how much it's going to cost you. Okay? If we have any questions about that, please put it into the chat so I can see. Normally, if I'm on a Zoom class, I would say, or unmute yourself, but that's not how this works. Okay. Okay, the next place I want to go, the digital consult, okay? The digital consult is ultra important. And when I say digital consult, I don't want you guys to think, oh my gosh, I have to get on a FaceTime with my client. You don't have to. You absolutely don't have to if you don't want to. It's not necessary. When I say digital, that also means whether that's an Instagram DM, okay? An Instagram DM, or maybe it is a FaceTime if you want it to be. Text messaging, whatever works, anything digitally. So there's a couple different reasons why a digital consult is really, really, really important and will really help you. It's not just a way to communicate with your client. It is absolutely critical in how you're going to structure your day moving forward. You know, we have so many unknown factors here, whether it's PPE, that big chunk and big question that's disinfection time, right? We don't know what that's going to look like. So with the digital consult, it's going to be able to allow you to accurately plan your day. And that way you can financially plan for your day, your week, your month, everything moving forward. All right, so the digital consult is paramount to the post-coronavirus crisis. And we're going to talk about why. All right, so the digital consult here, why it's important, why it's really, 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 really critical. The first and foremost most important piece, Kimber had asked before, you know, what happens if they don't wear a mask? What happens if they don't bring a mask in? Well, sorry, I'm going to readjust here. I'm going to scooch around in. There we go, so you guys can see that a little bit better. They're guidelines for health. They're guidelines for health, right? So with these guidelines for health here, I know that all of us, or most of us, are really active on social media, and we're going to put, sorry, I'm going to keep readjusting here. I can't quite figure that out. There we go. That way, we can tell our guests, hey, these are your future guidelines. You have to wear a mask or you'll be refused service, right? The other huge piece that people have a tendency to gloss over is they have to wait in their car until their appointment's ready for them. You can't have people inside your suite or even inside Salon Republic itself, okay? So they have to know before they get there and get frustrated and angry that they're at the door waiting for you and they can't come in, right? They have to wait in their car. So that's a really good place as well in this virtual consult to tell them all of these things. And it's a good time to tell them all the precautions you are taking in terms of sanitation and all of these things, making sure that they don't bring their brother, sister, daughter, whoever to their appointment as well. The more clear and concise you are in relaying these guidelines to your client, the better off you're gonna be, okay? And it's gonna help put them at ease because it takes that really big question mark out of their service appointment. So that's the one reason why. The other reason, of course, is the visual purpose, right? So as we talked before, our clients are gonna have all of these issues, whether it's they did at-home box tie, maybe they decided they wanted to do overtone, or whatever it is, long AF regrowth, who knows? But this gives you a visual. It gives you a visual. It lets you know where they're at. So when you're doing a digital consult, yes, you could be the overachiever and you could do it on FaceTime. Absolutely you can. No problem with that. But you could also do it on DM text with photos. You know, have them show their current, their future goals, whatever that is, normally. And why the visual piece is so important is you can start making a plan. You can start making a plan so that way you know exactly, or a better guess of how long their appointment's gonna take. What services are gonna need to go into that so you can plan your day accurately. So I really want you guys to think, going back to business, right? Imagine that you get the notification that your salon can open, but you didn't put the forethought in when you're rebooking these clients and you have no idea what's gonna walk through the door next. You know, personally for me as a stylist, that's what strikes fear in my heart, is if I don't plan and structure and know what my clients need, how can I plan for the disinfection time in between? How can I plan for all of my guests to come back in to see me? It's really, really important, because your client, you might be thinking in your head like, oh, she's just a root touch-up. She's just a touch-up. It's not gonna take me long. If you don't check in with her, you don't know how long that regrowth is, right? And if she's a resistant gray touch-up, she might need a little bit of extra care. Or maybe it's the client, you're assuming they're gonna come in and they're gonna get a haircut balayage retouch, and they can no longer afford that anymore. So you're gonna be stuck with a ton of time, especially when you need to fill that time with people. We need money more than ever right now. Of course we do. So that's the strategy behind these virtual consults, is that you can book things smart, right? And you can prepare ahead of time. Learn their quarantine routine. As we said last time, we talked about all the drugstores, right? All of our drugstore stuff. Maybe they picked up cheap shampoo and their soft, supple hair is now really oily and really dense with all this buildup. Maybe instead of our habitual curlers, right? Our girls like me that curl their hair every day, they haven't been. Maybe their hair is in even better condition than it used to be. So now you can go for that extra bleaching service or lightening service when you couldn't before, because their hair is so much healthier because it's been sitting in a messy bun for months and it's nice and healthy compared to how it used to be, right? Obviously, the big one here is also going to be appointment length. Appointment length. How else are we going to determine our windows of sanitation if we don't know how long our appointments are going to be? I like to say also making a pretty plan. Yes, I am cheesy. I know who I am. It is how it is. A pretty plan is what I refer to as stages. So a lot of our clients are going to be in corrective scenarios, whether it's drugstore product or box color or just really long regrowth. Think of your bleach and tone girls that have regrowth down to here. And that's going to take a whole heck of a lot longer than they normally would. And they might not be able to afford what they used to afford. Maybe that bleach and tone client with long regrowth, that first time she comes in, you have to make a pretty plan to say, okay, today we're going to have to do a partial foil to break up that band. And then we'll work our way back up to a full bleach and tone. Okay? I'm going to check this here. Thinking about using UV light in the room after each service, 30 minutes each time. Is using UV for AC. Should adding this time and cost to service? Yes. Yes, I think so. Anything you're doing to protect yourself and your guest and is taking away from your time, I believe should be charged. That's my personal opinion. That's how I feel. Nothing in our industry should be given away for free. And I really, really think, I'm not saying charge an exorbitant amount, right? You don't want to chase your clients away, because we also want to be empathetic to what they need, right? They've also been through this quarantine and they've also been living through this pandemic. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe their partner lost their job. Maybe they both did. So we do want to be sensitive to that, but also you have to pay, you have to charge for your time. So 30 minutes is a large window of time. I would say for you, go back, see how much you would average make in that hour, right? In a full day, what is your average? And what does that 30 minutes cost you, really? Think about that and think about really what it takes for you, okay? All right, so then we have at-home care. And I wanna mention this a little bit because our at-home care is important because, and I'm being honest with you, a lot of us, we've all been unemployed, right? So the ability for us to purchase on-shelf retail might be hindered. Or also, maybe we don't even want retail out because it's a touchable surface. We don't want people picking things up and putting it down, etc., etc. So when you're doing this virtual consult, you're gonna have a better idea of what they need. And if they need something, you are able to purchase it for them ahead of time. Or maybe you're able to purchase something for them right then and there and get it shipped to them. Maybe you'll do curbside pickup. Whatever you need to do, this will help you understand that, okay? To make sure that they have the retail that they need and you don't have to go out and buy a ton of stuff. Next, treatments. Treatments. So think about our deep conditioners, our detox treatments. I know for me, the detox treatment is gonna be my BFF post-quarantine, right? So Treatments are going to help you as well. It's going to help you add on to your appointments. For those people that can no longer afford the gloss balayage anymore, right? Maybe having a treatment service that they can just glaze their blonde back to a better place. That might be a good thing for you. You can discuss that all in the why. But most importantly is talking about the beauty budget. It's so critical. It doesn't matter what you do in your suite. Talking about money with your client is more important than ever. You know, all of us business hairstylist gals have been talking about how important it is to talk about money with your clients forever, but now it's more important than ever. And if it's a skill set you're not super comfortable with, I would really, really challenge you to start practicing before we get back. And the best way to talk about it with this beauty budget, especially if you're uncomfortable, is in that virtual consult, right? That face-to-face barrier and fear is taken away. So with me, what I really like to discuss with a beauty budget, when I'm rebooking my clients or my clients are booking an appointment in general, when I'm talking about this beauty budget with them, I really, really, really like to dive in and really bring that up first and foremost. Because if they ask me, I would love to get haircut, retouch, balayage, gloss, right? Awesome, great. I would love to do all those services with you. But the reality is, what is your beauty budget? And I always ask very openly, like, oh, tell me about your beauty budget. You know, what sounds good to you? So that way, your guest doesn't have to ask you. A lot of guests and clients feel very uncomfortable asking about money because they don't want to feel cheap. No one wants to feel cheap, right? So this is really, really important, this beauty budget piece, because that way they can enter your space knowing what they're paying for, especially including these unknown PPE charges that you've never charged before, right? So when you're doing this virtual consult, you can roll all of these things up into a nice, pretty little bow so you know what to expect every single day, and you can financially plan every single day. You know what's coming in the door. You know how to manage that, right? So it's going to be really helpful to be able to do all of these things and take some of the fear away. Are any of you uncomfortable talking about money with your clients? Be honest with me. I was forever. I was so uncomfortable talking about money with my clients for the longest time. So I'm going to share with you guys some of my biggest ways that have really, really, really helped me nail down beauty budgets and be able to find solutions for my clients, especially with this new PPE charge, right? Whatever that really works for you. I mean, if you are doing UV light, you go, girl. I love it. But you will have to charge for it. I mean, just the equipment alone, I'm sure, isn't entirely cheap. All right. I'm gonna check the chat here. Perfect. So, beauty budget, why it's important, we discussed. Now, these are some of my favorite points here when it comes to talking about beauty budget. I could talk about money all day, to be quite honest with you. But first and foremost, ask. Ask what their beauty budget is. This is a complete palate cleanser. We've all been on quarantine, financial uncertainty, everybody has had it. So be the person to ask them what it is. You don't have to be like, well, how much money do you have to spend? No one wants that person. No one wants to be that person. But asking them openly and honestly with empathy and care is going to take some of the weight off their shoulders, and it's going to give you a clear picture of what your service is going to look like. So first and foremost, ask. Ask, ask, ask. Okay? I totally, wholeheartedly believe in the practice of two options. Okay? So two choices. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It is proven that humans, we like two choices. Less than two. If we're only given one option, that's not enough. 3 can be overwhelming, and then we have a hard time deciding. So it's scientifically proven that two choices are best when it comes to making decisions. So I love to give my clients a lower priced option and a higher priced option in those two options, and I give them the pros and cons of each. So for example, you have someone that DMs you on Instagram. You're about to rebook them. Okay, you're about to rebook them. And they're that client. They're like, I want a retouch, haircut, balayage, gloss, as per usual, because they're telling you how, dark their hair has gotten and their ends are brassy, or maybe they're over purple shampooed, whatever that is. And then I would immediately ask like, oh my gosh, sounds great. I would love to do that for you. What does your beauty budget look like for this service? And then they'll tell you, right? Hopefully. You know, some people can be cagey, that's fine. But they'll tell you. In that case, I build 2 options based on that price range, right? So say that client, she normally pays $300 an appointment, say, for all of these services, all the bells and whistles. It's about $300. And she tells you, you know, my husband lost his job during quarantine. We're living a little bit more modest, but I've set aside some money. I only have about $210 to spend today, which is $90 less than what she normally has. And it's really important that us as hairstylists, we give the most empathy that we can. I really, really encourage you guys to not come off as in a judging manner, because we can sometimes, because we're like, ugh, you want all of this for nothing? Because some people do, I get it. But these are extenuating circumstances. However, it is ultimately important that you never give anything away for free, ever. Don't give your services away for free. We're kind, caring people in general. Beauty service providers, we just are. So in these 2 options, if all of those services aren't within it, give them 2 options that are within that budget. Show them that you care by working with them, right? So maybe for that client, I'll say, you know, why don't we do a partial foil, really focusing that foil around your face. So you'll get that blonde back up around your face where you really want to see it, and when you put your hair back, and then we'll do a haircut and gloss, right? Maybe we have to leave out that full balayage. That'll be X amount. Maybe you want to give them a lower option and say, how about this? What if we do a Balayage Brightener, that I like to call, where I paint panels of either, I like Chromatics Clear a lot, or a lightener of your choice, just to brighten up those really dull, maybe overly deposited ends or brassy ends, right? That's gonna be a lower service because it doesn't take as much time. And then a glaze and haircut on top of that, whatever it is. That client might say, you know what? My haircut can wait, my color is more important. So they give you their answer. So it's really important, give them 2 options. Give them 2 things that fit within that budget that will really, really work for them. Especially in that 2 options, including that PPE charge, if that's what you're planning on doing, okay? When you're able to talk openly and honestly with your client about money, okay, you're building trust. You're showing them that you care. When a client tells you that they can't afford the thing they normally afford with you, they might feel really, really bad. It might not feel good for them. So coming at it from a very empathetic place is going to show them that you're there to work with them, that you're working together. And that's really, really important. It will be no surprises for you and no surprises for them. Neither. Okay? It really helps you determine alternate options. And we're going to break into that. When we talk about power booking, right? Not only is it important to do the legwork in order to power book, right? You can't power book without prep. It's not possible. So these alternate options, whether it's treatment services, maybe it's a 20-minute express technique, maybe it's quick little add-ons, like for my nail tech here, maybe it's, you know, offering paraffin treatments or whatever it is that you do, that you're able to do at that time, depending on guidelines and health restrictions and all that, that you can give them that extra level of care if they can't afford those high services that they used to. It's going to be at a price point that they can afford. The 2 rules I live my life by in any capacity, in any sense of the word, at all, is always, how can I help and what can I do? Always. It doesn't matter if it's my personal life, my professional life, it doesn't matter. With my clients, it was the same. How can I help you and what can I do for you? That's how I want you to approach this financial conversation. If they can't afford the things they used to afford, that's okay. How can I help you? And what can I do for you in the budget you have? Right? Super important. So if they can't afford the things they used to, maybe a deep conditioning treatment because they tried to box dye their hair at home, or they've been treating their hair at home, or anything of the sort. How can I help you and what can I do for you? I want to find you the right fit for your hair and for your budget. Okay? That way it's going to help you completely wrap all of your services up in a beautiful little bow. No surprises. You guys with me? Cool? If you have any questions, please pop it into the chat over there. I'm trying to keep my eye on the chat and on my monitor here, so cool. Beauty budget. Also, I just like the phrase beauty budget. It sounds cute. All right. So, I like to say make it quick. Make it quick. So these are going to be your power services, right? We just talked about how we're going to set up our power book. And that's all through a virtual consult. Super important because you can't power book without prep. I'll say it again and 1,000 more times. In order to power book, you need to put the prep in. So make it quick. These are going to be geared towards hair. Kimber, before, she was saying she's a nail tech. So Kimber, this is your time right now to, take out your journal, whatever it is, and journal out things that could be 20-minute techniques for you. Hold on a sec. Blowouts are huge for me when cutting, styling, and checking color. What advice can you give? That's a really great question. I'm really, really glad you said that. So, I am the same way. If you've not met me before, which you haven't, I'm a control freak when it comes to color. I'm a specialist. I get it. Hopefully, when California reopens, we will be able to blow dry still. We will. I hope. But some have not been able to. So I completely understand your concern. It fills my heart with anxiety as well. However, we are bound to the laws that we're given. In the event that we are not allowed to blow dry, okay, we have to come up with new innovative ways to get around that. So when it comes to checking color, checking haircut, all of those, it's gonna be tough, right? Really, really, really tough. What I've thought in my head is, I'm coming up with really fun, creative ways to wet style. Those are gonna be on my Instagram probably starting next week. So that way, if in the event that in California when we reopen, we can't blow dry, we can still send our guests home with a beautiful finished look, whether it's damp braids or a twist technique or whatever that is. But to your point, when you're checking color, you do need it dry. So really keep that line of communication open with your guest. Really, really, really keep it open and wide open. I want you guys to go into post-quarantine with such open hearts and empathy. It's really important. So when your client, when you send her out the door, and if you have to send her out the door with wet hair, if that's the case, make sure that you let her know that she can contact you and let you know if something doesn't feel right. Ask her to send you before and after or send after pictures to you. If she loves it, tell it to post it on her social. All of those things, just really let them know that this is a new normal and we're all adjusting. We're all adjusting to this new normal. So it's really, really important that you give them a trusting space that they can feel confident coming to you and saying, like this little spot, maybe it's not, needs to be tweaked, it's a little heavy here, whatever, for haircut or color. So that way you guys can have open communication and there's no weirdness going on here because these are factors not within your control. In a normal world, we'd be able to go back and we'd have none of these hurdles, right? But these are things not within your control, so definitely give yourself some grace as well. It's really important to give yourself grace. Let me check the chat again. I wash hair before color and have to dry hair for applying color without diluting color. I like the idea of styling with braids. It's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna make up some stuff for you. But, okay, so you said I wash hair before color and have to dry hair for applying. Okay, so virtual consult is gonna be critical for you then. And I love you for it. Honestly, what she just said is amazing because that's how, honestly, you're gonna get the best color results in the world. So I am so proud of you for doing it that way. That's amazing. But virtual consult is gonna be more critical for you because I would highly recommend that if you can't do that whole service anymore, right? Because you're trying to minimize time. In those user guidelines that we talked about earlier that goes along with safety, sanitation, they have to wait in their car, you could tell them to shampoo their hair before they come in. Maybe even come in with damp hair so you can dry it. It's not ideal situation. Again, I totally understand that. We have to get creative, and that's just the reality of it. We have to get really, really creative about that. So that's a solution for you. You could, retail them, for us, hair cleansing cream or detox. You could send it to them before their appointment, so that way they have used a clarifying shampoo and it's going on clean hair. Does that answer your question? I wish I had a perfect solution for you. I really do. But we do have to work with what we got. And yes, to her point, I am planning on doing some wet styling techniques on my Instagram coming up next week and the weeks following, just in case of the event that we can't use blow dryers, or even we have to factor in some of our clients might be really uneasy and want to cut down time as much as possible and really wouldn't mind going home with damp hair. So there's a lot of factors. It's all new, right? If anybody else has questions, please put that in the chat bar as well. I'm monitoring, I'm looking. Okay. So 20-minute express services. Whatever you do, you have ability to do power services like this. Whether you're a barber or nail tech, you gotta get creative, right? We hairstylists all the time. We're creative people. We make art out of hair, we make sculptures out of hair, we make paintings out of hair. It's bananas. But we rarely translate our creativity into business practices, right? Use your creative brain for your business. That's what I want you to think about here. Let me see. Wet sets are gonna be fun, good. I'm glad you like that idea. I'm super excited about it too. But when we're getting creative, right? A lot of stuff. I've been brainstorming this like all month. So always, always, always in our hair world, and I'll speak to that, the 20-minute foil. Whether it's a 10 pack, a 15 pack, a spot foil, whatever a 20-minute foil looks like for you. What's my Instagram? Hold on, back to this. I'll put it in the chat here. So that way you guys can see it. Okay, so 20-minute foil. Express technique, right? And we at Redken just revamped all of our 20-minute express techniques. We've got like 9 of them, and we just completely revamped them, made them brand new. We're launching them this week. We're really excited about it. It's gonna be super awesome. So those are more to come on that. But for me, a 20-minute foil is something like Caitie Color, yeah. I did put it in right. Okay, yes, I just wanna make sure I just put it in right. So these 20-minute foils are face framing foils, right? Whether you wanna just bring up that money piece in front. Maybe they're part. Another really great example is a lot of our clients have been growing their gray out, unintentionally for months. Maybe they want to embrace that gray, and you just want to throw a 10 pack of foils in there to help blend that line a little bit. Totally an option. Again, think big, think creative. Okay? So I'm a big fan of always the part line, in the temple area, hair up, all of that. 20-minute express. Okay? Of course, the gloss and glaze service, my all-time favorite. For me behind the chair, as a specialist doing what I do, any color service leaves with a glaze. It's not an option. If they're a blonde, they get toned. It just is what it is. And what's really, really nice here is think about the hair that's gonna be in your chair, right? Think about that. All of your blondes that have gone brassy. All of your brunettes that have lost their luster. What about redheads like me that have lost that really bright ginger or red shine, right? We're gonna have a lot of that. We're gonna see a ton of it. A super quick fix if they can't afford an all over color or they can't afford the foil in all XYZ, right? Gloss glaze. It's amazing, especially on dry hair. If you do Shades EQ, dry hair, it's only 20 minutes. 20 minutes. So I want you to think about the gloss glaze. They come in, they get a haircut, and they can't afford to do the whole kit and caboodle, but you want to make them feel as beautiful and as confident as possible in their hair. 20-minute gloss, fast, and you're going to have maximum impact there, right? Not only that, but if you are using Shades EQ, you're treating the hair at the same time. It's acidic. It's shutting the hair cuticle down, right? It's a perfect excuse for that. Check this here. What advice to where to place your client as they process? That's a really great question. So it depends on your studio, right? All of you have different studios. Again, we aren't double booking here. We aren't double booking. So whether you have a sitting space for them, if you have a little chair, wherever is comfortable for them. If you don't have space for them to sit, that is probably something you're gonna have to look at. I would imagine they can just stay in their chair while they process. What it looks like for us as service providers, I'm not sure if we're gonna have to stay in the same room as them, if we're able to go to a break room area. I don't know that finer detail yet, but I'm sure when we get released on that information, be perfect, okay? If I had more info, I'd give it, I promise. All right, so that gloss glaze service. Also, this is a really great opportunity to, it's not just for blondes, you guys, it's not just for blondes. For someone like me, doing an orange kicker and clear glaze. Shine bombs. Shine bombs are huge for people that have lost their luster and they can only afford a haircut, maybe a little something more. Clear glass, of course. All right, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. My ultimate favorite is a conditioning cut. This is, the conditioning cut, along with all of these power services, is how I made my way to a six-figure stylist. No joke. But conditioning cuts are my favorite. So what they are is your client comes in for a haircut, right? You take them back, you shampoo them. If you can't shampoo in this case, if it comes to that, we'll get there. But you spray in a conditioning agent. So when I say conditioning agent, for me and what I use, I can only share with you what I use. It has to be a liquid conditioning agent, right? Because you can't cut through cream. Not great. So it's after you shampoo your client, you bring them back, or at the bowl you spray in a treatment, and then you cut their hair with the treatment in. So you are literally spending almost no more time than you normally would. Very minimum. So for me, my conditioning cuts, I use cat treatments. If you guys are familiar with Redken, it's a spray treatment. Very liquid, safe for scissors, the whole nine. So cat treatment is what I use, one of my main ones. I'll also do the apple cider vinegar rinse. That's another really popular one for me. For my clients that have lost a lot of shine or they're having a lot of color fading, that's a huge one for me. Hold on, check this here. When we are told we can reopen, do you know what the state board rules are on house calls? That's a tricky area. That's a tricky one. If I had to hazard a guess, I would imagine that house calls will be strictly forbidden for a while. If I had to imagine. But I could be wrong. Maybe California will see house calls as a safer space. I don't know. I highly doubt it because you as a person outside of a quarantined household could be potentially contaminated, right? And you're going to someone's entire household and could, infect touch surfaces and things like that. So house calls, I foresee that might being a tricky issue. But again, we don't know until we get information. We just don't know. Okay, so with that conditioning cut, I do cat treatments, I do apple cider vinegar rinses, or I'll start doing the new La Muller water that we have because it's a liquid. I have also in the past done chem shot treatments as conditioning cuts. It is a thicker solution, but I checked with my scissor company. I used to use Hikari's. I'm a Hikari baby. I don't know about any of you, what you choose, but I'm a Hikari girl. And they said it was okay. The only thing you run into when you use something that's a little bit thicker is, you want to make sure your scissors are okay. Okay, check the chat again here. I've been thinking of requiring a retainer to book an appointment at opening so I can guarantee no dead space or no show. Girl, I love you for that because I 100% think that's an amazing idea. I think you are right on it. So coming from me as someone before, just in general, I required deposits for almost all of my services. Period. Coronavirus or no coronavirus, I'm protecting myself financially with deposits. So I think absolutely we have to charge more for PPE, for disinfection time, and our money is more important than ever, right? Our space is more important than ever. So I highly recommend taking a deposit. I'm gonna get to that later, but I think you are totally justifiable to do so. And I think as long as you approach that, if you've never charged for a deposit before, come at it from a place of love to your client when you're explaining that process, because you really do have to protect yourself. And what I always tell my clients when I take deposits, I'm like, I understand things happen. If you come down with the virus and you can't come, I'm not going to hold that against you. That's part of me personally. If you're someone that you want that deposit no matter what, that's your choice. You are absolutely entitled to that. For me, if I had a client that got in a car accident or got sick or something completely out of the norm happened, I would let them honor their deposit at least to their next service. I wouldn't keep it and make them pay another one. However, if they just don't show up, then yeah, I take it. It's mine. That's the whole point of a deposit. So that's a really great point. I think there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I encourage taking deposits. I do. Okay? But you just have to make sure to be very open and honest with your client. If you're going to take deposits, you have to make sure that they know what that means. Okay? The other really nice thing about deposits, you guys, is when you take a deposit and they go to check out the day of their service, it feels a whole heck of a lot cheaper because they've already paid the first half or however much, right? So usually they buy a little bit more retail or they're more open to doing add-on services. Okay. Okay, then if we're not conditioning cuts, again, this is my favorite. I usually charge just $20 for it because it takes me no time. And cat treatments, for 10 sprays of cat treatment, it's 5 cents per application. Okay? I charge $40 if they want to go home with the product, or $35. I'll open a brand new cat treatment for them and I'll spray it in their hair and then I'll say, hey, it's yours now and you get to take it home. I'll do that a lot too. This is my number one moneymaker. All of my clients got conditioning cuts. I didn't even have to do it for them. They asked me for it. So it's a huge one. It's a really good one. So then we have our typical deep treatments, right? So whatever brand that you use for a deep treatment, conditioning treatments, detoxifying treatments, that's a big one. All right, so if you're doing your virtual consult with them and you see all of that purple shampoo deposit, or maybe they used overtoned rose gold because they were feeling fancy free, I don't know, whatever they want. For us, detox treatment, right? That's the first thing I would do. You could do a detox treatment literally for 5 minutes. You could do pre-art, which is our detox, at the shampoo bowl for 5 minutes and then shampoo with hair cleansing cream, done. Or you could charge a little bit more and have a longer, more premium service and put them under heat for 10 minutes and then shampoo. So there are a lot of different ways you can go there. Also, chemistry treatments, that's another huge one. Quick, fast, cost efficient. If you guys haven't really dialed in and thought about how much your product costs you, how much that costs, really start thinking about that. Really start thinking about that because financial impact is more important now than ever. You know, if you're using 10 sprays of something, what does that cost you? If you're using 2 ounces of color, how much does that cost you? Okay? Detox treatment, yes. My other one for my hair colorists in there, of course, Balayage Brighteners. And I talked about those a little bit earlier. Those are for your clients that have that balayage that come in and it gets really brassy. Maybe it's really orange. Maybe it's just hard water city. I'll usually paint on pieces of a very low volume lightener to give those brightness, give it a pop, especially around their face. Or I'm a huge user of Chromatics Clear in 30 volume for that. It's my OG, it's my ride or die. If I need to lift out some pigment or brass in previously lightened hair, I use it all the time. And that's a fast service. That's literally, it takes you 5 minutes to paint on some brightening pieces, done. So that's another huge one. And then root cap and root smudges. So I want you to think about, what about your foil clients that can't afford a foil right now? But they have that really, really, really harsh line, right? They have that harsh line. So you can use a root tap or root smudge to soften that line a little bit and make sure it stays really nice, okay? That way you can get them through to a point where they can afford a foil service, but they can live through it with grace, okay? So when you're doing these virtual consultations, Lord, if I could talk today, all of these play a factor, right? All of these play a factor. So really spend some time in the next week or two thinking about ways you can get really creative and how you can market that to your client very creatively, okay? So using your social medias to promote services like this. Be open and honest on your socials if you're active there, or maybe you're an emailer, whatever works for you, and saying like, look at all of these services I can offer you that will fit your budget and fit a time frame that is comfortable to you. You know, they will reach out to you and say, oh, 20-minute foil, what's that do? Oh, what's a conditioning cut? Because they're gonna be curious themselves, okay? So really reach deep, get really creative of what you can offer and how you can do that for them. Because again, you're gonna have to charge more for disinfection time and PPE. So all of that's gonna be stacked that way, all right? Any questions about that? Any questions there? I'm looking over at the chat as much as I can, I promise. Okay. Okay. So before I close out the class today, if you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. I'm here for it. It's literally my job. It's what I do. I'm also here for anything Redken, period. You know, if you have Redken questions, lay them on me. I'm good with that. So before I close out the day, I want to talk about this. It's really, 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 really important. Protect yourself and protect your energy. And what I mean by that is, of course, all of us are dying to get back to work. All of us want to. We miss what we do. We love what we do. But we have to protect ourselves and our families. You know, believe you me, I am going nuts in quarantine. But we have to protect ourselves and therefore protect our clients and our families and all of those things. So these things we just want you to be safe. You know, especially here at Redken, we really want you to be safe. And that's why, you know, L'Oreal's providing these PPEs at cost and all of these things, because we want you to be safe. But the one thing I've heard over and over and over again from people in Atlanta, some of the people in Alabama, it's exhausting. Coming back to work post-quarantine is exhausting for a lot of different reasons. So it's really important that you protect your energy, fill your bucket up. It is so critical. And that's why I'm not just trying to spout things at you and say, oh, virtual consult, blah, blah. Imagine the chaos. Imagine the chaos of every single day not only being exhausted of wearing a mask and all these layers of PPE and, you know, all of these extra financial burdens that are on your shoulders. But think about if you went into that every day not really knowing what's coming in the door because you didn't do those virtual consults. You didn't do those extra steps and those extra pieces, right? So it's so important to organize your days as much as possible, because not only that, you can maximize your time. When you're power booking, you know, you can offer those add-on services, right? You can find solutions, because if someone who's been a regular color client for years and tells you, I can only afford a haircut today, I can't afford my foil, and you say, oh, that's totally fine, but maybe would you be open to doing a gloss because it's gonna help your highlights stay nice? They're gonna be so grateful that they have a solution that's gonna make them love their hair at least a little bit more, and you're recouping some of that financial loss, okay? So really make sure in the weeks, hopefully not months to come, when California hopefully reopens, this piece is incredibly important. It's so important. You know, really identify what fills your cup up with joy. Think of what really, really brings you happiness and fills it up. I mean, maybe it's finger painting with your kid. Maybe it's taking your dog for a walk and giving them ice cream treats, because yes, I buy doggy ice cream treats for my dog and I won't apologize for it. For me, it's being outside, you know. Identify those things that you can fill your cup back up, because you're gonna need it. Everybody, all of my stylist friends in Atlanta have said it is emotionally exhausting. We're not used to breathing through those masks, and we're not used to all of these extra steps. So please protect your energy and protect yourself. No one wants a grumpy hairstylist, a grumpy friend, a grumpy wife, whatever it is, right? So make sure you're doing the best you can to take care of yourself. It's really important. It's my soapbox. Honestly, if you have ever met me before, I'm so passionate about hairstylists taking care of themselves, because I don't think we do enough. I read somewhere about changing clothes before leaving shop, then changing clothes again when home, then washing clothes of the day. Absolutely. So when we're talking about clothes changing, I don't know how strict you guys have been on your quarantines personally. Maybe you have not left your house and you've gotten grocery delivery, whatever that is. In general, A good rule of thumb, if you're really worried about contamination, especially those of you that have an at-risk family member at home, is to change clothes. You know, think of a doctor, right? And their scrubs. I mean, sure, some of them come to your appointment with scrubs on still, but most of them change. They have lockers, right? So it might not be legally required. It might not be. It might be. Who knows? We don't really quite know. There's still a lot of gray area there. But it is a best practice, right? So for me personally, if I'm out in the field, what I do is I don't change before I come back home, but I throw my clothes directly. You know, you might want to throw your clothes directly in the washer right away. Strip them off and make sure you jump in the shower quick. Whatever works for you. You know, and definitely for the health of your client, making sure that you're coming in with clean clothes every day. You know, all of those things. I know a lot of people are getting almost, even at states that don't require, like, you know, surgeon gear of PPE, some of them are honestly doing plastic raincoats so they can just wipe it off at the end of the day. Some people are doing that as well so they can protect their clothes at least a little bit. It'd be really hot though. So that's, unless it's legally mandated, that could be a best practice for you personally. Make sense? Okay. What questions do we have? Any other thoughts? Any other, you know, even if you have come up with a maybe creative idea, lay it on me. I want to hear more about it. So this is just a little bit of a guideline, a little bit of a business practice. So before I see you guys again, in general, these are some services you can add. I would highly recommend advertising them on your social medias. You know, advertise all of these little bite-sized services that you can offer so your clients know they exist. You know, your clients can't know unless you tell them, right? People don't know what they don't know. Start reaching out to your clients, or if they reach out to you, start that virtual consultation process. None of us know when our state's going to open back up again, so start doing that now. And when our state does allow us to go back to the work, it is usually that fast. Okay, we usually have a handful of days notice and you go back to work. So if you want to hit the ground running, it would be in your best interest to do all of these services. Okay, do all of these services. Make sure that you're reaching out for those virtual consults so that way your PPE is ready to go. The retail your clients want is there. You know exactly what services you're providing to who and when and how much time you have in between for sanitation. Okay? And that way they know to wait in their car, that you'll text them when you're ready, or whatever method works for you. So that way, when we get the all clear, you'll be ready to go. Also, I would like to add, if you're not ready on all clear, it's okay to wait. It's okay to get your ducks in a row. Don't jump into it before you're ready. The more organized, the more thought out this is, the better it will be for you. If you just launch yourself into chaos, expect chaos. Okay? So just plan, organize. I'm not naturally organized. It's a challenge for me, but it's really important that we do it because it will make your life so much easier. Okay? So much easier. All right. So I just want to check here. All right. So if any of you have questions, please put them in there. I'm doing another YouTube live here on Thursday, and we're going to talk all about money pieces and root shadowing, all right? Which are my favorite things. I love blonding. Blonding all day. It's my favorite. And anything at all, Redken questions, if you have concerns, if you don't know who you're, whatever it is, this is my resource. This is my Instagram. I put all of my class offerings on there. I do all of my education on there. I'll do all my education announcements on there. So that's a good place to be. I will release all of that there. Also, I'm available for DM whenever. I'm super open. I'm a workaholic. So if you have any question that creeps into your head, or you want to know more about something, or you want to learn more about formulation, whatever it is, shoot me a DM and I will be there for you 100% of the time. Except maybe like in the middle of the night. You know, I've had some people have a couple glasses of wine that'll hit me up at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, whoa, just calm down. I also need sleep. But always, 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 I am here for you. I'm happy to support you in any way that I can, as I know my entire Redken family is as well. So as always, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it, guys. And we always love to say Redken loves you, because we do. We really, really do. And we want to make sure that you are the most set up in any way that you can, in any way that you can be set up for success. So if there's anything at all I can do for you, or any sort of information I can give you, I'm happy to give it. Today, I think you'll see it on my Instagram story. I'm posting it after this. We are doing a whole back to business seminar tonight. I think it's 5 o'clock our time, if I remember correctly, but I'm posting it on my Instagram so you guys know. Oh, maybe it's 3 o'clock. Either way, it's Linda Maki, Braden Peltier. They are amazing. Adina Doss. It's a huge lineup. So it's all about going back to business. So that will be amazing. If you want more, that's going to be in depth. It's going to be 3 hours long. So that would be a great one for you to attend if you want to dive deeper. If not, I hope to see you guys Thursday. I know I probably won't see Kimber because she's a nail tech and money pieces probably don't apply to her, but I would love to see you there. I would love to see you there. So if there are any lingering questions, I'm going to hang out for just a minute. If there's any lingering questions, if there's anything I can do for you, anything I can clarify for you, or shoot me a DM on Instagram, okay? I appreciate every single one of you, and I will hang around for a couple minutes monitoring the chat here in case you guys do come through with a couple of questions. So I appreciate you. Have a fabulous day. Enjoyed this, very helpful. Looking forward to future workshops with you. I'm so excited. And yes, reach out to me anytime. Anytime. My Instagram is open to all of you. Also, if you guys I forgot to say this, screenshot. If you guys haven't been screenshotting or taking pictures of this class, please do. Please take pictures of it, because I want your clients to see that you are working on a plan to come back, that you have them in mind, that you're learning new tools, because that way they know what's coming. Tell them you learned about virtual consults and all of these cool new services you can do. That way, it's a marketing tool, right? If you guys need help on social media, I am doing two social media public classes this week. So I'll post them today on my Instagram. But anything you do, tag me in. I love to repost all of my people. It's my favorite thing. So I will do that for you 100%. Anything at all I can do for you, let me know. But have a fabulous day. Love y'all. What page do you want? Just want me in it? The back to business one, the first one? This one? That one? Should I pose hilariously? This is why I can't, you guys. Why do they let me do this? Too cheesy. Born cheesy. Answer your question though? We're good?